What's up? This is my 1986 F250 with the 460 big block in it, V8. I have been working on this for a while, beginning of the summer and going on obviously now into the winter. So I got it not running, didn't know what was wrong with it. Traded it for a motorcycle I had. Decided I wanted to try to figure out how to fix up an old truck. So the guy I bought it from said that all it needed was a carb rebuild and he thought it would start right up. Well, obviously that wasn't the case because it's never that simple. So I did rebuild the carb. Still didn't work. And I realized that my fuel pump, when I would turn it on, like to start it with the starter, that's the starter relay, it would switch on the fuel pump, but if it would start ever, it wouldn't keep going because the fuel pump would then shut off. So then I had to dive into why wasn't the fuel pump working. He had put in a new fuel pump and a new fuel tank. So I went all through the continuity of all the wiring and stuff from the fuel pump. That all seemed fine until we did some more research and found that the back of this, behind this carburetor, was some kind of disconnect in the electrical system, because power goes to the fuel pump basically initially from the battery when you are starting it with a starter, and then it switches that off because you're not using the starter anymore, so then it reroutes and runs power through a completely different thing. So we had to figure that out. There was a continuity issue with that, which we kind of bypassed with a paper clip. So there's a paper clip back there right now that is helping us. At one point we thought it was our fuel relay, so took this all apart. Actually got a new one of these from the junkyard. Tried to put that in and see if it was that. Actually didn't end up being that. So now I just have a wrecked fuel relay, which kind of sucks. So it starts now and it runs just fine. Not really just fine. Just figured out recently that about 3 of the cylinders aren't firing. So here's the distributor cap right here. So we were taking some of these off. We figured out that when it was running, we'd take one of these off, wouldn't change anything. So now got to dive into that. That'll be a bigger project, but that's where I've gotten so far on the F250. Gonna keep going on it. Might just go ahead and take this 460 big block out because they're clunky and big. It's a 7.5 liter, so it's huge. So I might just take this out and see if I can swap over a manual transmission, because this is automatic. See if I can swap over a manual and maybe swap over the 351 Windsor, because that's a lot more reliable engine. Anyways, that is my car problems. So that's where I'm up to now in the project. Now let's get into a little more of what I've been working on a little more in detail over the past couple months that I've had it, because there's been some ups and there's been some downs. So initially, to try to get it started, like I said, we were looking at fuel pump issues. So what we figured out was that we could turn on the fuel pump, because the fuel pump wasn't turning on at all unless you hit the starter. So we figured out that you could actually turn the fuel pump on manually, like you can see in this. And then also we figured out that the relay was actually fine, like I was saying. So we figured out that we had to go look for continuity, which is when we found the one there was like just like a little connector that was bad, and we put a paper clip in there. And then we had to adjust the carb to make it so that it could idle, which you can see right here.
Come over here, thank you.
And then once we had it idling, it was time to maybe drive around a little bit, see if it could drive, if it would like run, and it could idle, it could go into drive. The transmission was all good, which I went ahead and took it to a Maverick, which you can see right here. And then after having driven it for a couple of days, not on really long trips or anything, we had this happen. And so what that was a freeze plug busting out because maybe the engine had water in it and at some point as coolant. So we're thinking that water expanded in the block, pushed out one of those freeze plugs, hopefully not cracking the block. And it finally built enough pressure to really blow out. And so you can see that hole in that blowout right here.
I have no idea where that's coming from. Absolutely no idea. Can't really find exactly where it's coming from. I'm under the car right now. That's what's dripping off of it, but I don't really know where it actually sprung a leak from. It drained everything that was in the radiator, looks like. So what's that? I don't know where it sprung a leak from, but it's like looks fully dry. Oh, yeah. Looks fully dry from the top of it. So I don't know where that leak came from. Boy, just when I thought it was done. It's like fully dry up here. No idea where that leak came from. Couldn't see a place where it started from. This all looks super dry. It's not this. So it's something else.
So that's where I'm at now. The freeze plug is still blown out. I haven't put more coolant in it. I don't want to put more coolant in it because it really messes up my garage, having to clean up coolant all the time. So I have a blown freeze plug, and I have a couple of cylinders that aren't firing because it's, as you can see in some of those videos, it is idling super, super rough. So that's the next part of it to get into, is possibly pulling the engine. First, I'll actually just make sure that all the wiring is good. So like my my spark plug wires that come off my, just the spark plug wires. I'm gonna make sure those are all good. Make sure my timing is good. Make sure I'm gonna do compression tests, so pull the freeze plugs and do a compression test. Just make sure all of that before I, for real, just pull this whole engine and possibly scrap it. So that's where I'm up to now. Hope you enjoyed.